Hello, I'm Tamara, and welcome to Tam's Psych Advice. Crazy, but I had already done a whole video on deep MBTI types, and I scrapped it. And I hate when I spend a lot of time doing a video, really pouring my heart into it, and then my gut feeling as an ENFJ says, you're gonna get destroyed if you put this video out. People are gonna come for you. My whole, I guess the crux of the video was that I had made up in my mind that intuitive types were deep and sensor types are not deep. And I don't know if it was just this competitive feeling in me or just wanting intuitive types to be deeper, because in my mind, intuitives can go below the surface. They are looking past what's obvious. And so to me, intuition is the definition of deep. So what the freak is intuition? When I think Myers-Briggs terms, I think possibilities, future, gut feelings. But when you look it up in the dictionary, it's defined as the ability to understand something immediately without the need for conscious reasoning. A thing that one knows or considers likely from instinctive feeling rather than conscious reasoning. So does that have something to do with deep? Could be not. I think it definitely can aid in depth because you're going below the surface. So it can appear deep. Even if it isn't deep, it appears deep. But what is the definition of deep? Let's go there. Because I don't want to go off of what I was doing before, which was relying on my own mind only without giving at least a little bit of sufficient evidence or someone else's perspective. So it's interesting when you look at different people's definitions of deep. So someone named Sean Johnson says, deep people communicate competence and maturity because they can handle problems. They don't pout or rationalize or give up when things don't go their way. Deep people are able to share in other people's burdens. Interesting, but that would not be my definition of deep. Here's what Hack Spirit says. To be deep, you have to be quiet, analytical, and someone who thinks before they speak. And while it doesn't necessarily mean that you can't be deep and extroverted at the same time, it does mean that it's likelier for a person to be deep if they come from an introverted foundation. Now that's interesting to me because I hadn't thought about introversion. A lot of people would think that introverts, not intuitives, would take the lead in being deep. That means ISTJs, ISFJs, INFJs, INTJs, ISTPs, ISFPs, INFPs, INTPs are all automatically deep. They're in the door. An introvert is a person with qualities of a personality type, which means that they feel more comfortable focusing on their inner thoughts and ideas rather than what's happening externally. They enjoy spending time with just one or two people rather than large groups or crowds. Keywords: focusing on their inner thoughts and ideas. So can a person be deep and you don't even know it? Like if you're in your own little world, there's got to be a lot of thoughts and ideas mulling around inside. There have got to be a lot of things that you would like to share with people, but extroverts cut you off before you can express yourself. They are thinking and ruminating on many things that we're not even privy to. So think about all the deep people that we don't even know are deep. Have you ever heard that person that never says anything, and then when they do, it's something so profound and meaningful? I would definitely say that introverts have a huge potential to be deep. So could we draw the conclusion that introverted intuitive types like INFPs, INFJs, INTPs, and INTJs are the deepest of all types? You tell me. But have you ever heard that person who sang a lot, but they're really not saying anything? You're listening, you're not comprehending, you're not understanding, and it's really because they're saying a lot, but they're really saying nothing. So you have to kind of be aware of that possibility as well, which leads me to say that I think a component of deep would be intelligence. So is deep just words, or is deep on the football field? Like, you know, those star football players who have the it factor, star musician who can play anything. I mean, just they can play classical music. They have an ear for music. Are those people deep? Does deep just have to be words? And I'm going to be honest with you. When I first thought of deep, I thought words. Who has the capacity to use words in a way that moves someone? If you want to get a little crazy, who's deeper, men or women? Could you put animals into the category of deep? Maybe they do some things that stand out above the other animals in their group. Like, haven't you seen that incredible dog that does things or senses things or notices things or picks up on things or learns things quicker than other animals? Why are certain dogs chosen over others to help people who are handicapped? Maybe because those dogs have a deeper emotional intelligence than some of the other animals do. Why are some dogs chosen to be in police forces in the canine units? And I think also, do you work with your dog more than other people? Some people just have their dogs to cuddle with. Other people, they're busy teaching their dogs tricks. They're teaching them to be the best YouTube entertainers. And maybe that dog has something special. What's your opinion of what deep is? Let us know in the comments. And what about Myers-Briggs types? Which Myers-Briggs types do you think are the deepest? Or do you think one Myers-Briggs type stands out above the rest? Which sensor types do you think could be deep? Some or none? Or do you think sensor types are actually deeper than intuitive types? Tell me the truth. Do you assume that ENTJs, INTJs, INTPs, ENFJs, INFJs, ENFPs, INFPs, I know I missed one of the intuitive types, that all the intuitive types are automatically a shoo-in for being the deep types? Because how does intuition function? It goes below the surface. When I think of sensor, I think of straightforward, detailed. It is what it is. If it's blue, it's blue. If it's yellow, it's yellow. There's no like imagining things. And I will tell you, God had to humble me on that. And I'll tell you why in a minute. In fact, in the video that I deleted, I said God was deep. And I do not think God liked that very much. That was just my interpretation, because God is not deep. God is God. Is being deep a choice, or is it something that you develop? Is it something that happens naturally? Is it a direct link type of parenting that you got? Is it your education? Did you get an education that was just very basic, or were you pushed to think a little bit more, to challenge yourself, to use rigor? Did your parents speak in riddles and rhymes? Was there something unusual or unique about your upbringing? Are you more of a 4 on the Enneagram or a 6? Does your Enneagram type impact whether or not you're a deep person or not? Does being deep develop because you felt left out as a kid, and now as an adult you figured out how to stand out in the crowd, how to be unique, how to be different. You consider yourself to be deep? It's okay. You can admit it if you do. I'll give you a little test. What does this mean? Self-liberate, even the antidote. I'll let you know what that means at the end of the video, and we'll see if you got it right. I'm an ENFJ, and I think ENFJs are deep. I see other types like INTPs who can challenge thoughts and come up with something new. That's deep. Their dominant introverted thinking takes over, but then it's propelled forward by their auxiliary function, which is extroverted intuition. So they let you know, this is my thought process. Shy INTPs, maybe not, but they can let you know in writing. What about ENTJs? I had an ISTJ tell me, what's going on with this ENTJ? Because they're making predictions that are coming true. Like, for example, the pandemic, 3 months in, he was like, it's gonna be some years. To the chagrin of everyone, because everyone wants to go into denial when it comes to something so horrific. It can't be years, but he was right. So they have secondary introverted intuition, and so they are also working with systems. And so they're fast forwarding to see, okay, what's gonna happen here? I think that's deep. But I'm in the world of an ENFJ, so I know how our minds work. INFJs have introverted intuition as their dominant function. So you can see their intuition working. ENFJs, you don't always get that privilege. It's very hidden, which feels very mysterious. Or if they reveal something to you about yourself, it could be kind of shocking because you don't see it working. It's deep down inside. It forces an ENFJ to go inward to figure out patterns and behaviors and emotions. They may figure out some things about you that you don't even understand. Make predictions on future outcomes, but it's often connected to the people around them. They're always helping people to do better, to make improvements, which is why ENFJs can make great teachers, great counselors. Their intuition helps them to connect with future outcomes based on facts and information that they absorb over time. Can all of these people who are considered deep on some level deepen their deep? I remember this show called Child Genius, something like that. And these kids were supposed to be geniuses. They were amazing, but the parents worked them from sun up until sundown, whether it was piano or facts or intelligence, math, reading skills, all of that. They worked those kids from morning until night. And so did those kids probably already have a high IQ? Yes, but I was very surprised by how much work was going into their genius. Do I think that those parents saw something in their kids that was exceptional? Yes, but by the end of it, I was like, okay, they're being given study questions. So does that answer your question about deep people and geniuses? And I look at my mother, who grew up in poverty in a single parent home with many circumstances that would sink the average person, and she graduated third in her high school class. How does someone do that? She's an INTJ. Do INTJs have an advantage? I think so. I've seen INTJ dropouts who excel above the majority of the population. So that thought question that I gave you, if you're not good at answering those kinds of questions, you could become good. Then you would be considered to be deep. Now, what's funny is I asked my INTJ mother and my ISTP father that question, and they both got it immediately. They explained it in different ways. So does that mean that thinkers are naturally deep? Because they have analytical skills. So just like intuitives are collecting information over time and remembering it, so are analytical people. They are storing that knowledge and using it when they need it. I once did a video on learning styles, and I showed you different handwriting samples, and I showed you that some people are quick thinkers, some people build over time, and other people are questioners. And I showed you what that looks like in handwriting so you can identify your own or other people's. Does one of those styles lend itself better to being deep? Me personally, I'm more of a methodical thinker. I can be a quick thinker sometimes, but I lean mostly on methodical, which means that I'm going to build things brick by brick, but then I'm going to have an entire house of knowledge. Whereas the quick thinker, they're just going to pick things up rapidly. But are they deepening? How do they deepen their knowledge? All three are a type of intelligence, but does one lend itself to being deep over another? So before I end this video, could somebody serve me some humble pie? I like chocolate. Banana Foster sounds really good right now because I assumed that intuitives were deeper than sensors. After I scrapped that video, I started noticing people that I had noticed before. There's this guy that I watch all the time, and I know somebody else who watches him all the time too. He's a sensor, hands down a sensor. And many times we'll be watching him and we'll be like, what is he talking about? Huh? And it's because he's very deep in thought. He doesn't just present things as they are. He presents things in a way that makes you think. And to me, that's what deep is. Are you making me question things? Are you expounding my knowledge? Are you stretching me in some way? And that's what he does. Every time you listen to any of his messages, you really have to stop, think, write it down if you really want to get the crux of what he's saying. The other day, I also heard a conversation with an ESTP and an ENFP, and the ENFP, who's an intuitive, kept having to ask the ESTP, can you put that in layman's terms? Can you speak in apples and oranges? What are you talking about? I don't know what you're saying. And they were having a simple conversation about relationships, about men and women and love. And she was like, I don't know what you're talking about. And he had mentioned that his mother taught him something about questioning things when he was a child. And he was using that thought process to make points. So he would make a statement and then ask a question that answered the statement. I know I'm saying that weird, but it was a very unique style that he had developed. Could he have said things exactly as they were? No. Yes, but he chose to present in a way that would stick with you later. Because if you got it deep down inside, now you're going somewhere. And that to me is a deep thinker. I think T.D. Jakes is an ESTJ. His presentation style, if you watch one of his sermons, pretty incredible. There's a lot of depth to what he's saying, and he makes you think and reconsider. Ideapod.com says, deep thinkers are incredible problem solvers. They're constantly thinking and understanding the different perspectives that simplistic people simply can't comprehend. They are less likely to make mistakes as they've taken the time to think about all the different options. I take it back. I think deep is a style. I think deep is a way of thinking, living, presenting. It represents who you are. I've seen ENTJs who choose to speak in apples and oranges. Plainly, they want to deliver a message in a way that is absolutely, infallibly clear. Go to the right, turn to the left. And then there are other ENTJs who speak in symbols and riddles, and you have to uncover each layer. So deep, I think there's a natural depth. Don't get me wrong. I think, generally speaking, there are types that are normally deeper than other types or have housed within them a deepness. But that's not the whole story. And when you look at different types of intelligences, those intelligences can lend themselves to depth. Just like I mentioned, football players, they have to have spatial intelligence. Spatial intelligence also comes in handy when somebody is giving directions or having to locate somewhere without having MapQuest or their app to generate where to go. I know my ISTP dad has that, because I can remember him leading a whole group of people who were lost somewhere without any assistance, just being able to turn things around in his mind in a place in another city. So is that deep? I can't do that, but perhaps that's intelligence and not deep. So if you're trying to figure out if you're deep, do you have a thirst for knowledge? Do you make up your own opinions on things? Do you notice things that aren't obvious to other people? Do you take notes so that you can study something more in depth? Are you an avid reader? Are you curious? Are you messy or neat? Do you overthink? Do you have very strong feelings? Are you super sensitive? Can you do your own thing? Have you developed your own rhythm, your own style? Who are you most attracted to romantically? Are you attracted to deep thinkers, or do you like surface thinkers better? Are you more into, hey, let's have fun, let's play, sense of humor? What is your thing when it comes to romance? That's why I wrote my book, Flip the Script on Love, because I wanted to talk about love and romance and how you can be better at it and heal from past hurts, the love that you've always dreamed of having. So check out my book, Flip the Script on Love by Tamara Hunter Zyon. It's on Amazon. And before I go, let me answer that question. So I gave you a deep thinker question. Self-liberate, even the antidote. So what does that mean? Did you figure it out? It means do not hang on to anything, even the realization that there's nothing solid to hold on to. If you got that right, give yourself a pat on the back. Yay! All right, my wonderful friends, thanks for hanging out with me today, and I'll see you on the next video. And let us know in the comments which Myers-Briggs types you consider to be deep. Make sure you like the video, make sure you subscribe, and you never know when I'm gonna do another pop-up surprise video. So you gotta stay plugged in. Until next time, bye.